You know, when I'm enjoying a nice iced bourbon vanilla latte from Mothership Coffee here in downtown Las Vegas, I like to do it when I'm watching Lexo Poker play poker on his poker vlog, specifically when he's playing 510 at the Bellagio. Enjoy.
What is up, guys? My name is Lex. Welcome back to the vlog. First hand, we have Ace King under the gun, make it $30. There's a call before the button puts in a 3-bet to $120. I'm thinking now what kind of 4-bet sizing I want to use here before the small blind puts in a cold 4-bet himself. He re-raises here to $310. In the last year, I played over 200 hours here at the 510 level at Bellagio, and what I've noticed so far is that when people 3-bet, usually they have pretty strong hands like pocket jacks plus, and when someone puts in a cold 4-bet, it's usually aces, kings, and sometimes ace king. Now, of course, that's not the case with all 510 games. Some cities play differently, some states play differently, and even some casinos like the Wynn 510 plays a lot more aggressive than the Bellagio 510. I think it has a lot to do with the buy-in structure. So now the action's back on me, and I have to decide what I want to do. With all of this information going through my head, I think I have two options. I can either fold ace-king offsuit here, or I can 5-bet jam all in for $1,500. And I actually think the best play, given these player types here at the Bellagio, is to fold. I raised under the gun, and then there was a button 3-bet, and then a cold 4-bet by what looks like a recreational player in the small blind, so I don't think he's getting out of line with a crazy bluff like ace-5 suited, or maybe king-queen offsuit. He most likely has a very strong hand. I'm only in the pot for $30, so I decide to make a tight fold and let this one go. The button calls the 4-bet, so I keep my camera rolling. We see a flop of king high. Now I'm kicking myself for not going all in pre-flop. The small blind bets $200. The button shows pocket jacks and folds. I asked the small blind to show his hand for the vlog, and he shows ace king. His 4-bet would have got us off a chop. However, I'm okay with my fold pre-flop there. We switch over to seat number 2, one of the best seats to vlog, and I pick up one of the best hands you can get pre-flop, pocket queens. The ladies on the button. There's a raise to $50. I make it $150 on the button, and he makes the call. Heads up to a flop of jack 10 for rainbow. We flop an overpair. He checks it over to me. I put out a continuation bet of $150, and now the action's back on the hijack player. On this board, we are looking for some action in a 3-bet pot. My opponent thinks for a little bit of time and decides to put in a check raise. He raises here to $700 with just about $500 left in his stack, and now we have a decision to make. Should we go all in? Should we fold? Or should we just call? If this raise came from a super tight Bellagio nit reg, I would most likely fold my pocket queens, but against this particular player, he had been playing a lot of hands, having some drinks and having some fun, so there's no way I'm folding. I don't think calling's the best option, so I decided to just rip it all in there. I have an overpair and a 3-bet pot. I shove all in for $1,500, and we get snap called.
You want to go once or twice?
Call.
What do you got? I can't say. Once.
What time?
Yeah, 2 pair. I'm losing.
Oh, he's winning.
I got it.
Oh, I knew it. Fuck.
There we go.
Rough.
Oh, fuck. Good anyway. The dishwashers, hold on.
My opponent decides to run it one time and shows jack 10 for top 2 pair. We are in rough shape with pocket queens, but the turn is a 4. Counterfeiting him, we end up taking down almost a $3,000 pot. Our second hand of the night. It feels so good to finally run good and even get lucky sometimes. Within the first 10 minutes of my session, I'm already up almost $1,400, moving on to the next hand. There's a middle position raise to $30. I have king 10 of clubs in the big blind. I make the call, heads up to a flop of 10, 10, 4. We flop trips. I check and he checks back. The turn is a queen. I check again and he checks back again. The river is another queen. We make a full house. The board is double paired now, so I decide to lead out for $60. Really trying to get called by ace high. My opponent lets his hand go. We take down another pot. Folds to me in the cutoff. I look down at king 3 of diamonds. I raise it up to $30. Small blind calls. Heads up to 4, 6, 7, 1 diamond. We flop a gut shot, 1 overcard, and a backdoor flush draw. The small blind leads right out for $50. I guess I could fold here, but in position, I think I can peel. We're super deep, so I make the call. The turn card pairs to 4, and my opponent instantly checks it over to me. When my opponent leads out on the flop, I put him on a lot of 1-pair hands, maybe a 6, a 7, pocket 8s or pocket 9s, which he's definitely not going to be folding here on the turn, so I check this one back, going to the river, which is an ace, a great card for me to bluff with. My opponent checks it over to me. I feel like I have the green light now to put out a bluff. I don't want to bet too big. I want to try to target his hands like a 6 or a 7 to try to get them to fold. I cut out a bet of $60 and my opponent snap raises me to over $300. I fold my king high and he shows ace 4 for a full house. Well played, sir. Nice hand. A very exciting hand coming up next. $20 straddle under the gun. We look down at pocket kings. What a beautiful sight. I raise it here to $60. The same player from last hand with ace 4 makes the call before the button puts in a 3-bet. He re-raises us to $230. Folds back to me. We are in a magical spot here with pocket kings. It's a straddle pot. We raise and we get re-raised. My opponent has about $1,000 left in his stack. Should we just call and under-rep our hand? Should we 4-bet? Or should we go all in? Contemplating my options for about 30 seconds and I decide to rip it all in. $2,500 with pocket kings. My camera gets so scared it rolls over on its side. The cutoff player pretty quickly folds and the button makes a snap call. I'm not sure if he has pocket aces. Maybe we have to get lucky. If he has queens or jacks, we got to fade a queen or a jack. If he has ace king, we don't want to see an ace. We're going to see 2 boards in this run out. Let's hold in a big pot.
Really good flop.
Good turn.
Maybe a bad river.
Alright.
We fade all of my opponent's outs when he shows ace king of clubs. No ace, no flush, no straight to take down a massive pot here with pocket kings. The first time we were all in, we were behind and we got lucky. This time we were ahead and we held up. That is a recipe for a monster poker session. We're up almost $3,000 now, just 1 hour into our session. Next up, there's a cutoff limp. I call in the small blind with pocket 4s. Big blind checks, see a flop of 3, 4, 7, rainbow, flop in a set. Whew, we are running hot. I lead out for $20, cutoff calls. Turn is a deuce. I bet 50, he folds. January 6th, I'll be hosting my first ever West Coast meetup game at the Hustler Casino with Justin Bieber himself. Wolfgang Poker. It's going to be a lot of fun starting January 6th, 4 p.m. Hope to see you guys there. Back to the poker felt. Cutoff makes it $30. I have a hand that I could be 3-betting king queen offsuit on the button, but given the fact that I am going to have last position on the flop, turn, and river, I decided to make the call. Big blind calls as well. 10, 6, 3, all hearts. We completely missed this board, but my opponent's check to me. I think I could be taking a stab here as a bluff, and maybe they'll fold. I bet $40. Big blind folds. Initial raiser lets his hand go. We take down a small pot. Most of the table's doing a $20 under the gun straddle. I have queen 10 on the button to make it $50. Only the under the gun player makes the call. We flop second pair on a king high board. He checks it over to me and I check this one back. The turn is another king, bringing a flush draw. He checks again. I bet $50. He gives up. We get more chips pushed in our direction. Under the gun $20 straddle is still on. We look down at ace queen, definitely a hand we want to be bumping it up with. I make it $60 here. We get a late position call. The big blind decides to match our bet and the straddler gives up his hand. So 3 ways to a flop, which comes out ace high. We flop top pair. Queen kicker checks to me. I bet $90 and both of my opponents give up their hand. The last 3 hands I played were pretty boring pots, but I wanted to show them in the vlog really to paint the full picture of how good I'm actually running. I'm basically flopping top pair in every single pot I play. If I don't make the hand, my bluffs are working. You can't get too much better than that. 2 hours in the session and we are running hot. Let's keep this going. Let's keep the chips going in our direction. Speaking of running hot, let's play pocket aces. Cutoff makes it 50, button makes it 150. Whew, that is what I like to see when we're holding the best hand you can ever get pre-flop. I'm going to be putting in a 4-bet here, but what sizing should I go? I glance over at the button stack. He has $3,000. That's 300 big blinds, so out of position, I think I should go pretty big here. I settle on a 3.5x raise to $505. Back to the cutoff who decides to let his hand go, and the button pretty quickly folds. Later told me he had pocket 6s. Unfortunately, we couldn't get much action there with pocket aces, but a win is a win. I'll take it. This hand we are the under the gun $20 straddle folds all the way to the small blind, who's the same player we got lucky against with pocket queens early on in our session. He calls $20. Big blind folds. I bump it to $80 with pocket 8s. He makes the call. Heads up to a flop. 5, 5, 6. He checks. I bet $100. He makes a call. Let's think of a fun turn card. Maybe an 8? Welp, that is what we get. We make a full house right on the turn, and it gets even better when the small blind leads out for $300. I have to look back at my hand to make sure this is real life. Did my opponent just lead into me when I turned the nuts? 8s full of 5s. So now I have to think, what should I do here? Should I put in a raise? Or should I just call and slow play? My opponent has about $1,500 left in his stack. I could be raising here, trying to cooler all of his 5x hands. But if he has a bluff, and I put in a raise, he's just going to fold out those hands. So given the fact I'm in position with a hand that doesn't need any protection, I make the call. The last card is the 10 of diamonds, and the small blind thinks for a little bit of time and decides to check, which really sucks. Most likely he is not going to have too strong of a hand now. When he leads out on the turn and checks this river, he's most likely going to have a bluff, possibly a one pair hand like the last 8, maybe a 6. So I have to decide what kind of bet sizing I should use to get called by one pair, and I decide on the same sizing he used on the turn, $300. He goes into the tank for a while, thinks over his options, goes back and forth, and ultimately decides to put in the call. He pays us off. We show the pocket 8s. The run good continues. We take down another pot. Poker is such a fun and easy game when you're running good. Next hand, $30 raise, a call. I have Jack 10 of spades. Make the call. Ace, Jack, 6, 2 clubs, flopping second pair. I check, checks all the way around. Turn ace of clubs, I check, and it checks all the way around again. The river's a 4. I could be leading out small here, but I decide to check for a third time, just trying to get to showdown, and now the initial raiser puts out a small bet of $40. Other player folds. I don't feel too good about this situation, but my hand is just way too strong to fold given that price. So I put in the call, and we get shown the bad nose. Pocket 4s for a rivered full house. Getting pretty unlucky there on the river, getting 2 outered. Luckily, it was a small pot. After this hand, I end up calling it a session, end up racking up my chips, heading to the cage, and cashing out for the night. All right, guys, that is it for tonight's session. Sometimes you sit down at the poker table, you run bad, you run cold, you're card dead, you don't make any money. Sometimes you come in, you pick up a lot of big hands, but you don't get any action. And then sometimes you get these miracle sessions where you sit down and you pick up big hands, you get action every single time, you win big pots, you hold in your all-ins, everything just goes your way. And that was tonight's session. Ended up winning $3,400 in a little over 3 hours. Just ran so pure. Got my money in good basically every time. Turn sets, flop sets, making 2 pairs. Kings versus ace king. Aces in a strat. I mean, it just like, it was an incredible session, honestly. Like, poker is so easy when you run good. It makes it so easy to play poker for a living when you're running good. Now, what is not easy is the last 2 months I had to frickin' go through of just getting crushed all the time in Texas. I was running so bad in Texas, but luckily the tables have turned out here in Vegas. I'm gonna put my month graph up here somewhere. I was down $13,000 at some point in December, like middle December, but then since I've been out here in Vegas, I think I'm up like 15K, so pretty nice. I will take that for sure. My little buddy Rogue and I, we're heading out to Los Angeles tomorrow. Going to be going out there for a meetup game January 6th at the Hustler Casino. If you guys are in that area, make sure to come out. It's going to be a lot of fun. That is it for this one. If you guys made it through my intro, shout out to Andrew Nemi for doing that for me. Hope you guys enjoyed that part. If you made it through all the poker hands, and then now the outro talking with me and Rogue, we're just hanging out here. Until next time, I'll see ya.